Hi everyone, Borutonegz is back with another video. This time I will cover a very controversial topic within the Naruto/Boruto community, Borushiki versus Fused Momoshiki. Most people don't even analyze this matchup properly, since they think that the result is obvious, when in reality it really isn't. The majority of Boruto/Naruto power scalers mainly use three ways to downplay Borushiki. Let's see them. Number 1, the Momoshiki inside Boruto looks like base Momoshiki only, and not Fused Momoshiki. Hence, Borushiki is weaker than Fused Momoshiki, since it's just base Momoshiki plus base Boruto. Number 2, before chapter 67 dropped, Momoshiki wasn't done extracting his data over Boruto's body, so he was using just a piece of his power every time that he came out, ergo, he was weaker than his full power self. Number 3, when we saw Borushiki fighting Sasuke in chapter 54, Borushiki was getting pressed by him, and Sasuke was almost out of chakra and injured. Plus, he had already lost the Rinnegan at that point, so Borushiki cannot be stronger than Fused Momoshiki, since it took Naruto and Sasuke together at full power to defeat him. So yeah, let's start by debunking the first one. The Momoshiki inside Boruto is more similar to base Momoshiki than the fused one, but he doesn't look exactly like him. As you can see, their design is similar, but the horn shape is totally different. Ikemoto probably decided to depict the new Momoshiki in this way, because the fused Momoshiki design was too hard to replicate each time that Momoshiki was on panel. Like, imagine someone like Ikemoto constantly drawing Momoshiki with this design. Let's be serious. I'm not even hating him. I love Ikemoto character designs. However, we need to tell the truth. Ikemoto himself admitted that one chapter a month is the maximum that he can draw. Now imagine if every time that Momoshiki appeared in a chapter, he had to draw him in his fused form. It would be impossible for him to complete the chapter in just 1 month. Momoshiki casually reverting to his base mode after his defeat wouldn't make much sense either. We know that Otsutsuki eat chakra fruits in order to upgrade themselves and become peerless existences known as gods. Momoshiki literally transformed Kinshiki in a chakra fruit and ate him. Now, why would he lose his genetic upgrade randomly once inside Boruto? When all the Otsutsuki we saw kept their evolutions, each time they ate a fruit. Momoshiki reverting into his base form makes zero sense whatsoever. Borushiki being weaker than base Momoshiki, since that's the version that people think Boruto has inside him, makes no sense in terms of power scaling too. The best feats that base Momoshiki amped with pills performed were destroying a partial and suppressed majestic Uchiha Susanoo in one blow, and knocking out a full power Naruto who was focused on just absorbing his attack. So yeah, that doesn't make base Momoshiki as strong as a full power 6 parts adult Naruto, since it was outright stated that Naruto could have obliterated Momoshiki's Bijou Bomb if he had no village nor villagers to protect. However, base Momoshiki, while amped with pills, could fight against a suppressed 6 parts adult Naruto and press him with his jutsu. Now, let's compare those feats with the ones performed by Borushiki. With only 82% of his data extracted and without any pill, Borushiki was overpowering Code since the moment he took control of Boruto's body. After Boruto used a few massive Rasengan, Ida stated that Code should have retreated, since there was no way that he could hold up to an opponent that strong. Like, Borushiki was bullying Code without even trying. Code had to grab Kawaki and use him as an hostage since he couldn't contend with Borushiki. Borushiki didn't give a fuck. He charged up his Rasengan, hit an injured Code, and then he sent him flying with a simple kick. Even in the official episode summary, it was stated that Borushiki was overpowering Code completely. Borushiki being blatantly above Code is important, because even with his limiters on, Code was strong as hell. Jigen, who fought Naruto and Sasuke at full power excluding Baryon mode, thought that Code could have guarded the 10 tails against either one of them if they were to enter the dimension that he was situated in. Code having power similar to a full power 6 parts Naruto and Rinnegan Sasuke was further confirmed by other two statements. In chapter 57, when Code freed Ida and asked her how to remove his limiters, Code stated that he could probably kill Naruto or Sasuke the way he was at that moment. He wanted his limiters to be rescinded, just for sparing himself from unnecessary hardship. It's important to note that Code didn't know about their nerfs, since he met Ida in that moment, and she could have not told him that they were weaker, because their full conversation was on panel, and she never said that. And the second statement was made by Code once again in chapter 59, where he stated that if it was a one-on-one, he could have probably defeated Naruto or Sasuke, reconfirming the fact that even with his limiters on, Code was on their level. So yeah, base Momo was pressing just to suppress 6 paths Naruto, all while stamped with pills. Meanwhile, Borushiki was destroying someone as strong, or even stronger than a full power 6 paths Naruto, with just 82% of his data extracted. Borushiki is clearly stronger, so this first point is debunked. Fused Momoshiki is what's inside Boruto. Now, let's start debunking the second way that people use in order to downplay Borushiki. Him not being as strong as when he was fused, because his data wasn't close to finishing its extraction every time that he appeared, doesn't make sense in Boruto's case. Let me explain why. I can understand if you say that the Borushiki we saw in chapter 43 and 54 were weaker for that reason. However, the one who fought against Kawaki is an exception to this. Amada gave us a perfect description about Kawaki's situation. He's 80% Otsutsuki, and inside of him there's a Shiki Otsutsuki strength waiting to be used. As Amada said, Kawaki still has the house that is Shiki built inside of him. The house in this similitude is Ishika's power. With Ishika's soul vanished, Kawaki just needed the door to tap into Ishika's power that was continuing to sleep inside him. And in this case, the door was the karma that he lost, but that Amada was able to reconstruct once he fixed Kawaki's arm. With his karma reconstructed, during the fight against Borushiki, Kawaki was actually using 80% of the Ishiki strength that was laying inside him. And guess what? Borushiki was shown to be equal to him in their fight, same speed and attack potency, meaning that this Borushiki at full power could rival someone who was at least as strong as 80% as Shiki. Even if you don't believe in Kawaki using 80% of Ishika's strength, he still should be at least stronger than Jigen, since he's not a crippled half-dead vessel like Jigen was, and he can even use Ishika's Damagen, something that didn't even appear when Jigen was fighting. Kawaki being at least on Jigen's level was confirmed by Shikamaru in chapter 73. After the Kawaki vs Borushiki fight, Shikamaru stated that even if Code without limiters was stronger than Jigen, the Leaf would have been able to deal with him. With the Leaf, he obviously intended Kawaki and Boruto, since Naruto and Sasuke couldn't defeat Jigen-level threats even with Kurama and the Rinnegan. The fact that Kawaki was in Karma version 2 when he fought Borushiki should tell you that he was definitely using a large chunk of Ishika's strength, just like Jigen was doing against Naruto and Sasuke. So even if Momoshiki's DNA was only 82% extracted, Boruto was a perfect vessel genetic-wise, and overriding his DNA over Boruto's body only made Momoshiki stronger, since he could contend with above Jigen-level threats. If you're asking why Boruto is a perfect vessel, well, he's like the Isugo of the Boruto series. He's the son of Naruto, who's an Uzumaki and an Ashura reincarnation who got chakra from Hagoromo, who had half of Kaguya's chakra inside him. He's also the son of Hinata, a pure-blooded Yuga, so Momoshiki becoming stronger once inside Boruto isn't really surprising. Now that I've debunked the second way to downplay Borushiki, let's debunk the third and final one. Borushiki being relative to just a Rinnegan-less injured and out of chakra Sasuke is a blatant lie. Let's see why. We know that the trigger for Momoshiki to appear was Boruto being out of chakra. In this fight, Borushiki was nowhere near his full strength, since he had little to no chakra left after the treatment that Boruto got from a Shiki. And before someone will say that he was just hurt and not out of chakra, the chapter after he received that beatdown from a Shiki, Boruto was literally fainting from exhaustion. The strongest Borushiki that we've seen so far was the one in chapter 65, where he didn't came out when Boruto was out of chakra, but he forced him to switch while he was relatively at full power. We saw before that based on feats alone, this chapter 65/66 Borushiki clapped Code and was equal to Kawaki in Karma version 2. I proved before that Code with limiters was as strong as Naruto and Sasuke, singularly, before the nerfs. So, if chapter 66 Borushiki can clap someone who's as strong as Rinnegan Sasuke, I don't see why he should be equal to just a Rinnegan-less, injured out of chakra form of him. And for the Kawaki part, we saw some moments ago that Kawaki was actually stronger than Jigen. So the Borushiki in chapter 66 is in no way, shape, or form relative to just a weakened Sasuke. It's clear that what was holding Borushiki back in chapter 54 was the fact that Boruto's body was injured and almost out of chakra. So yeah, now that I've finished debunking those misconceptions, let's see who's really stronger between them by comparing their feats and statements. Let's start with Fused Momoshiki first. Naruto and Sasuke weren't at their 50% in their fight against Fused Momoshiki. That was just an anime thing. In the manga, it was never mentioned how tired they really were. Even if you want to count this anime statement, Momoshiki said that he was halfway through extracting Kurama's chakra. Naruto's chakra isn't just the one of Kurama, but his own personal one, plus a chunk of every other bijou too. So he was not at 50% power, nor below that. For Sasuke, it's the same thing. He teleported 8 people into Momoshika's dimension, but he still had all of his Tomos on his Rinnegan. So he wasn't even close in being low on chakra, like he was against Shin. Many people say absurd shit, like Fused Momoshiki was weaker than Naruto and Sasuke in a 1 versus 1 by using those scans. But those scans don't prove that Naruto and Sasuke were stronger than him singularly. What they prove is the fact that they both caught him off guard before punching him. Unless you are blind, you can clearly see that Momoshiki had an exclamation mark in both the instances in which they were able to hit him. Momoshiki didn't expect Naruto to transform at that moment, and he didn't expect Sasuke to pop up behind his back with a Chidori. When Momoshiki was on guard and ready to fight, he was about to kill Sasuke in 3 pages, had not Naruto intervened to save him. Does that give the impression that Sasuke could 1 versus 1 him? Obviously no. Naruto tried to fight Momoshiki in his Kurama avatar, but Momoshiki formed his golem, and he started to overpower him easily. Does that give the impression that Naruto could 1 versus 1 him? Obviously no, once again. Those were 2 instances in which Naruto and Sasuke alone couldn't do very much against Momoshiki unless they teamed up. In the back of the Boruto volume number 3, this notion was further confirmed, since it was actually stated that Naruto and Sasuke had to team up in order to stand any chance of toppling him. This statement is very valid, since Naruto and Sasuke needed to combine their strength and use the majestic attire Susanoo in order to pin down Momoshiki, the same majestic attire Susanoo that was stated to be the strongest ninjutsu in existence. So yeah, I would say that in the anime, Naruto and Sasuke were around their 70% full strength, meanwhile in the manga, even above. And to defeat Momoshiki, they had to tag team him up while going all out. That's it for Fused Momoshiki. Now let's see where Borushiki scales realistically. As we saw before, Borushiki appeared in 3 different occasions, and each time he had a different power level. The Borushiki that we saw in chapter 43 would get demolished by Fused Momoshiki. His best feat was violating Boro in taijutsu and disintegrating him with a giant Rasengan. However, that doesn't make him that strong, considering the fact that Boro was getting pressed by the new Team 7. Base Boruto was able to throw him away with a Rasengan, and Karma version 1 Kawaki could squash him into a rock. The thing that made Boro supposedly stronger than Delta, and more threatening than Jargon, was his Black Mist, not his raw power nor his speed. Sarada could even cancel out one of Boro's ninjutsu. Plus, she literally stated that although Boro was powerful, he was pretty slow. Like, how many other anti-feats do you want? I got you, Sarada putting Boro in flames before he could react, plus Boruto and Kawaki blowing up half of his body with a combined Rasengan. Sarada, while charging the Chidori, was so fast that Boro couldn't even with the hand signs to move his core, and he himself admitted that Sarada was too fast. So Fused Momoshiki would wipe the floor with this Borushiki. Now let's see how the Borushiki of chapter 54 would stand up against Fused Momoshiki. This Borushiki would get violated too. A Rinnegan-less Sasuke was able to push him away with a kick, damage him with his lightning-style jutsu, and force him to run away from his fireball technique. Other than being without the Rinnegan, Sasuke was almost out of chakra too, but he was able to do all of that. Borushiki even stated that if he fought him head-on, he would have not walked away unharmed afterwards. Fused Momo, on the other hand, was fighting against Sasuke and Naruto combined before the nerfs, and while they were using their Susanoo plus Kurama avatar on top of that. So yeah, this Borushiki would get bullied too. Now, we already saw how strong the Borushiki of chapter 66 was, but let's see that again. He was strong enough to overpower Code in 3 simple moves. The moment he used a giant Rasengan, Ida even suggested Code to retreat, since Borushiki was too strong for him. As I proved before, limited Code was around 6 paths Naruto, and Rinnegan Sasuke level singularly, meaning that Borushiki would be able to inflict the same treatment that he inflicted to Code to either one of them in a fight. Borushiki then went on fighting Kawaki in Karma version 2, who was easily above Code, solidifying my scaling. As you can see, Code himself stated that he was getting completely overpowered, and that he would have died if he had not pulled the demon trick. Borushiki could fight equally against this new Karma version to Kawaki until Boruto started to wake up. Kawaki won the fight for that reason basically. Other than being flat out stronger than Code with his limiters, this Kawaki was at least stronger than Jigen too. We saw before Amada's explanation about Kawaki's new Karma. Kawaki was 80% Otsutsuki at that point, with Ishika's power laying inside him. He just needed Amada to reconstruct his Karma in order to access that power. And that's the strength that he was using during his fight against Borushiki. Kawaki was at least stronger than Jigen at that point. Remember that Jigen was essentially a random decrepit monk of 1,000 plus years during the main timeline, whom Ishiki found randomly in the past after Kaguya betrayed him and left him on the brink of death. Amada further explained that Ishika's chakra was too massive for Jigen's body. He straight up called Jigen an inadequate vessel for Ishiki. The point of Kawaki was to literally being the best functional vessel that Ishiki could desire for, and with the help of Amado, Ishiki was able to create that. Kawaki was a perfect vessel, a young child who got his body remodeled by the best scientist in the whole Naruto world, Amado, and was forged like a warrior by Jigen and his rigorous training regimen. Thinking that an inadequate and decrepit vessel like Jigen was stronger than Chapter 66 Kawaki is beyond me. Jigen couldn't even manifest his Damagen, which was very visible on Kawaki, and had trash levels of stamina. Also, there is the statement that we saw before of Shikamaru saying that the leaf could deal with no limiters Code, and with the leaf he most likely intended Boruto and Kawaki with their new powers. Borushiki being able to fight equally with this above Jigen level Kawaki makes him stronger than above Jigen level threats too. Let's see why that's important for our scaling. Jigen fought against Naruto and Sasuke while they were closer to their full strength. Meanwhile, Fused Momoshiki fought them while they had less chakra, so when they were weakened. I said closer to their full strength because Naruto had a small fight against Jigen before the big one, and Sasuke wasted some chakra to open a portal before getting to where Naruto and Jigen were. Anyways, this is probably the first time that you'll hear someone saying this, but I don't believe in Karma version 1 Jigen being stronger than Fused Momoshiki. Let me explain why, even though Jigen was fighting against 2 stronger versions of Naruto and Sasuke since they had more chakra. Once Naruto and Sasuke discovered how his ability functioned, they were able to corner him without using nor combining their Susanoo and Kurama avatar. Meanwhile, as we saw before, Fused Momoshiki couldn't be dealt with by Naruto and Sasuke without their Kurama avatar and Susanoo fusion. And yes, Naruto and Sasuke going all out in Boruto is when they used their Kurama avatar and Susanoo, meaning that against Jigen in Karma version 1, they still weren't going all out, unlike against Fused Momoshiki. So yeah, I think Fused Momoshiki would definitely beat Jigen in Karma version 1, but Karma version 2, that's another story. This Jigen was a different breed. He dodged Sasuke's Susanoo slash, sat on his sword, mocked his Susanoo speed, and then proceeded to kick Sasuke out of it effortlessly. Naruto received the same treatment. Jigen dodged all of his Kurama avatar's attacks, pinned him down with some giant rods, and punched him out of the avatar easily. If you compare the feats that Jigen performed in Karma version 2 with the one performed by Fused Momoshiki, it's clear that Jigen was stronger. Fused Momoshiki was overpowering Naruto, who was as strong as Sasuke, while in his Kurama avatar. However, Momoshiki didn't destroy him with a single punch like Jigen did. He was able to just overpower him slightly with his golem. And we saw before that Jigen fought 2 versions of Naruto and Sasuke who had more chakra than the one that Momoshiki faced. So yeah, in the end, Momoshiki lost. Meanwhile, Jigen clowned them multiple times. Anyways, since Borushiki was relative to Kawaki in Karma version 2, the same Kawaki who was at least stronger than Jigen, means that Borushiki would be way stronger than Fused Momoshiki too. That's it for today's video, thanks for watching. If you've gotten that far, remember to support the channel if you want to see more videos like this one, and see you next time, peace.